Let's get started. Well, welcome everyone to our webinar series. This is Samal Sad. I'm the executive advisor at Shower Thinking. Today we are very pleased to bring you this webinar session with our in partnership with Salesforce. To you, and the topic actually is a very interesting and hot topic these days of Salesforce's interaction studio, particularly for pharma companies and their application there. So I want to welcome everybody around the world that have joined our webinar series. So hopefully you'll find it quite interesting as we go forward. The agenda today, we have got a packed agenda for you in order to make use of everybody's time. We have tried to combine everything in about 45 minutes to be conscious of everybody's time. We're going to have a very brief intro of the speakers today. Then we'll give you an overview of Interaction Studio and about what it is, and then how it gets integrated in the digital marketing architecture and cloud databases. Afterwards, we'll just do a deep dive into tailored solutions particularly for pharma and use cases that we have had in pharma and the best practices that evolve around that. So a quick introduction of our panelists and speakers today. We have Mr. Joaquin Paez, our CEO at Shower Thinking, joining us today. I'm Samal Sadr. I'll be moderating this webinar today, and also we'll handle your Q&As at the end. Ms. Sarah Vance, our digital PMO at Shower Thinking, will be talking about the use cases and special applications in pharma, and also our esteemed colleague at Salesforce, Ileana Diaz, who is our data and insights specialist, will be presenting the Interaction Studio to you as well. So to make an efficient use of our time today, so we are keeping the Q&A session to the end of the webinar. So appreciate if you can send your questions through the questions window, and I'll moderate it at the very end of that. For those of you that are joining our webinar series from this webinar, just to give you a quick intro about Shower Thinking and what its mission is. Shower Thinking, our team is specialized in providing complete end-to-end solutions for all digital marketing needs, particularly in Salesforce and Viva platforms. On that, one of the differentiations of our team is that we bring both the marketing knowledge and also the technical knowledge surrounding the pharma application of digital marketing for pharma and that. Needless to say, we've been awarded as a top 10 Salesforce solution provider in Europe. We are launching more than actually 50, 60 campaigns a month actually across 20 countries around the world. And our team holds more than 60 certificates in Salesforce as well. With that quick intro, I'm just going to pass it to Ileana to give you an overview of Interaction Studios on that. So let me turn off my camera. Ileana, please take it away.
Super. Thank you, Saman, and thank you everybody for being here with us on your time. We're very glad to go and deep dive on what all this Interaction Studio is and what it means for the pharma. And because we are thinking on pharma and health in general, I would like to start with all the unprecedented changes that we have believe all this last year. And we know that we have to find a way on how we're going to navigate to the next normal. We know that 78% of our health executives believe the stake for innovation are higher than ever. And all of this is driven by the consumer. So even though we might not sell directly to the consumer, the end user is the one that is driving all these high expectations, because all of us are willing not to buy to a customer to a company, if they don't give us a good experience. 79% say to us that the experience is as important as the product or services that a company does. And in a digital world, all of these, all the experience, all the knowledge of the data of the customer is through data. And then we have another challenge. We all believe and we all feel that all the data that we have is in an unstructured way. So it's very difficult to really understand our customer. So if we summarize what are all the challenges or what are the things that we are facing today, and someone, if you can pass to the next one, please, we could summarize in three main challenges. The first one is the data access. So 75% of pharmaceutical organizations need more agile methodologies to really ingest and consolidate data. And this data, it's also related to the consumer, the customer, how I'm getting all the interest and the intent of a product or a service. So we have first that, and then we go into the analytics of that data to really get into understanding in a personalized ways all the user. We need to use AI, and we all feel that we are not ready for the AI. We're not using an AI, and the AI is the one that's going to leverage all those understanding of what's going on with the data. And if we go lastly to what AI is, where it sits in the digital tech, and 79% of the pharmaceutical executives do not feel they have the expertise and the resources they need to really handle all these changes. And that's what we're here today. We want to address all these challenges, and we think we can help you. And the next slide, please. We think we can help you with real-time personalization and interaction management at scale. And this is what we in the house calls Interaction Studio. So the way that we're going to do is that we're going to be able to capture individual insights. And when I said individual, it could be individual from a company, from a practitioner. We're going to put all that together, and we're going to really understand what the affinities and the intent is. And we're going to do all of this in real time. Real time is key to maintain that good experience that we are saying is very important. And again, to be able to do it in a personalized way, we're going to leverage AI to be able to give you what you need at the moment that you need. And more important, we're going to be able to coordinate everything in any channel. So we're going to be able to help our sales team, but at the same time, the web, or even the marketing and the emails that we send out. All of these are going to be consolidated, so we have one message cross-channel and updated in real time based on the interaction of our customers. And finally, we're going to be able to test and analyze all this experience. But I think to really understand all of what I'm saying, it's easier if we deep dive on use cases. And for that, I want to pass the micro to Sarah. Please, Sarah, all over to you.
Let's start exploring what Interaction Studio can do for pharma by taking a look at what it can offer, as well as what a typical digital architecture could look like in pharma. The core capabilities of Interaction Studio are what make it such a valuable tool. With the implementation of Interaction Studio, you can provide one-to-one recommendations and personalized experiences powered by machine learning. This allows you to create a unified customer profile and segment your audiences in a way that makes sense and allows you to target specific groups of HCPs. Let's take a look at a typical digital architecture setup for pharma companies. This architecture includes the integration of various core platforms like Viva, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and a content management system. This setup allows for the execution of cross-channel customer journeys, integrating CRM data, web tracking events, and email events from all three platforms. This type of digital architecture also has the capacity to integrate data from external platforms, for example, an external webinar platform or an e-learning platform. In summary, it allows us to integrate various digital platforms to better understand our HCPs and create more personalized experiences. Let's start exploring what Interaction Studio can do for pharma by taking a look at this tailored solution. Interaction Studio is a module that can be included in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. In this example, you can see that Interaction Studio is connected to the content management system, which would give us access to some new and improved functions. These new and improved functions include a unified customer profile, improved segmentation and targeting, improved Journey Builder features, and triggered experiences and recommendations powered by Interaction Studio's machine learning. Let's have a closer look. Here, you can see the process that Interaction Studio completes to provide these personalized experiences. For example, which data is necessary as input data, what Interaction Studio does with that data, and the output data, which is the final product in the format of personalized recommendations and next best actions. Some examples of input data are interactions from Viva CRM, websites, and Salesforce Marketing Cloud emails. This input is fed into Interaction Studio, where it is integrated and interpreted. And from there, a decision is made and engagement happens. In the engagement phase, a variety of messages can be communicated to the HCP through preferred channels. This allows you to take into consideration past interactions to make future decisions. The first, and one of the most interesting functionalities of Interaction Studio, is the ability to create individual profiles and represent grouped user data in a very visual manner. This allows us to establish scoring models, as well as categorize individual data into affinities using socio-demographic, professional, and engagement data, as well as specific HCP preferences. These functionalities are supported by data from the core platforms, Viva CRM, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and websites. This is an excellent functionality for marketing teams, as it provides important data in a visual manner. Another important aspect of communicating with HCPs is segmenting them into specific groups for more meaningful targeting. The more sense your communications make, the more well-received they will be. Interaction Studio allows you to create segmentations and audiences without the need for coding, which typically requires more technical expertise. Instead, it is done simply by selecting attributes using the visual interface, which is an appreciated alternative for non-technical teams. The segmentation for a customer journey can be done directly in the Interaction Studio module. Another important feature of Interaction Studio is the ability to trigger journeys in Journey Builder. It's as simple as creating your segmentation and using it as an entry source for a Journey Builder journey. If we add this to the ease of segmentation of the tool, you can see that it allows much more agility when executing campaigns and customer journeys. And now for the star of the show, Interaction Studio Recipes. Interaction Studio Recipes are the machine learning module of Interaction Studio, which provide the ability to create one-to-one personalizations based not only on specific filters, but also on algorithms, which consider historical relationships. This allows us to personalize and optimize our interactions with HCPs. These recommendations can be used in the applications, on the sales rep's iPad, in Viva approved emails, in Salesforce Marketing Cloud emails, and on web platforms. Now let's dive deeper to discover some of the possibilities that Interaction Studio Recipes offer. The first feature of Interaction Studio Recipes that we'll discuss is called the Next Best Action. This feature is the result of Interaction Studio processing input data from various sources and providing a recommended action based on existing data. In this example, you can see that we are using the next best action feature to provide a suggestion to the sales rep for future interaction with the HCP. This helps to empower the sales rep with suggestions within the Viva iRep app based on the algorithms and configured criteria in Interaction Studio. This particular example is based on the use of the Suggestions module in Viva. Here, you can see an example of the suggestions I'm referring to. In this example, you can see that the sales rep received the suggestion in relation to a specific HCP, and then has the option to accept or decline it. In the case that a sales rep declines a suggestion, he or she must provide a reason. For example, the HCP is not allowing reps in office due to COVID. The machine learning algorithms learn from the sales rep's reaction in order to continue improving and providing new suggestions moving forward. Another interesting feature of Interaction Studio recipes is the demand generator, which allows us to improve event registration on digital assets. For example, we can promote a webinar in the protected web areas, impacting those HCPs that the Interaction Studio recipes identify as target profiles. The important thing to remember here is that these CTAs are controlled via Interaction Studio, which means that no additional web design is necessary. Along those same lines, another feature provided by Interaction Studio recipes is called real-time recommendations, and we have focused this feature on web campaigns. With real-time recommendations for web campaigns, you can create dynamic content and show it based on the segmentations and recipes from Interaction Studio. The web platform will reserve a space dedicated to Interaction Studio dynamic content, and there we will create content blocks in order to provide personalized offers according to the HCP's profile. The good news is that this content is 100% controlled by Interaction Studio. All we need is a reserved space on the web platform. Next, we'll discuss a feature called Open Time Email, which we have applied to Viva approved emails. This functionality allows us to introduce artificial intelligence into the email content creation step. Interaction Studio offers a content editor that works in real time to determine the content shown depending on the HCP's profile. The email is created in Interaction Studio, and a specific code is provided to be inserted into the email module in Viva. This is an excellent way to target your HCPs with meaningful communications that are tailored to their needs and interests. And last, but most certainly not least, with Interaction Studio, we can perform A/B testing across our digital environment, including websites, email communications, and even Viva. Performing A/B tests allows us to optimize HCP experiences by testing different options. We can then view the results in real time, identify the best performing experiences, and implement them, all with the same solution. We can even perform what's called targeted testing, which includes identifying the best experience for strategic segments and displaying the optimal one for each group. And that's it. As you can see, Interaction Studio has unlimited offerings for pharma companies. You simply have to define what you need and have a dedicated team to help you implement it. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks for your attention, and we hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Well, that was great presentation. So let me right now, I'm going right now to invite our speakers to join the Q&A sessions, and please feel free to post your questions if you haven't already, and then we'll get started with the questions as well. Just as a note to everyone, obviously the recorded webinar will be made available to you as well shortly on this. So just wanted
to, you are not sharing your screen, your camera, sorry.
Oh, my apologies. Okay. Am I on right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, very good. And I'm happy that you commented, because I wanted to ask to do if you have your audio set up right now to join. All right, so let me go through the list of questions. We have a few right now, and then we have a good healthy 15-20 minutes to have the discussions on the questions as well. And so the first question, maybe I'll pass this question to Ileana, to you. So the question is, we talk about real-time access. How real-time is this? I'm guessing interactions.
I'm very happy that you asked about this, because we didn't mention in detail. And when we talk about real time, we talk about 30 milliseconds. So from the time that we identify a person until we take an action, we only take 30 milliseconds.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much. And by the way, if there are follow-up questions as well, please continue to post those questions to me as well, and I'll pass it in a certain order to our panelists here. And another question is about the database that is used for Interaction Studio. Do we need to? The question is, I'm rephrasing it. Do we need to create new databases, or we can tap into the existing databases from Viva or other platforms that we're using?
Mm-hmm. As it was shown on the presentation, Interaction Studio is gathering different sources of data. From the most important ones are your websites or your CMS. For example, we can imagine that you have, for example, Sitecore or WordPress or Drupal or on any other website. And this is part of the information that the Interaction Studio is gathering. Of course, a very key and important source of information is Viva, the Viva or any other platform that you could have. It could be also Health Cloud or any other one. But the Interaction Studio keeps on getting the information from the data that you already have.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Joaquin. And another question here is that how can the content be ingested by Interaction Studio from a CMS? I think either of you can answer that.
Yes, well, I don't know if this is for, you can also comment, Ileana, but basically you need to, during the installation of Interaction Studio, you need to install a script in your website where this script has the function for collecting the different engagement data from your customers. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit more, Ileana.
Yeah, well, you guys are the expert. I know about the product, you know about the implementation, but it's all about JavaScript. So we tag the web, or we tag the different systems, and then we get all the actions, how we call it, or events, and all of that will fit Interaction Studio, and then we will be able to take action. So that will be, I think the question was about CMS, but also we could have different other ways to ingest data if we want to take it like to be more complex or clever, and it could be through ETL, like to batches and APIs. So that would be more on other systems.
Okay, very good. Thank you on that. So another question, what properties does each site need to be able to have it included into the common data set? I think that's a bit more of a technical question, but I will, again, Joaquin, you or Ileana, whoever wants to take that one. Maybe Joaquin, you can comment about it and pass it to Ileana.
Yeah, regarding the sites, really this script that we were speaking before ingests all this data into Interaction Studio. In the case that you have more complex data, could be, for example, in other industries, probably not too much in pharma, but could be also you have an e-commerce. You can also ingest data from HCPs or through an API. But all this information, this is what you are getting into Interaction Studio. So I don't know if this is exactly the question, Saman, or could you please repeat to see if?
Yeah, I think that's that was the question. It was about the properties of the sites that needed to be captured.
Yeah, of course. Afterwards is ingested into Interaction Studio. The Interaction Studio can categorize, these different interactions and understand if a customer is interested in part of your content or a different part of your content. So this categorization is built into Interaction Studio, and it's a configuration that you need to make during the installation of its Interaction Studio.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Joaquin. Another question here is, it's about the next best action feature. And the question is that how does that feature can ingest data? Is it from the sales, from the patient data, etc., to make it more powerful in terms of the recommendations that it's making? Ileana, maybe you want to take that.
Well, I think we go back to what we have said before. So from one side, we will have different channels. So first of all, if you have a digital channel like a web or an app, we're going to tag to that. And then any other information that you think is relevant to take the right decision, let's say because you calculate externally propensity models and you have that data and you want to incorporate it into the algorithm, you can bring that data offline. And then all of that number, all those information will be taken into consideration for when we do a recommendation.
Okay, very good. There's another actually nice question here, is that what is the minimum amount of data that we need to have, or it's a very high level question actually, in terms of interaction volume, so that AI, the AI engine can make really valuable recommendations or meaningful recommendations. Is there kind of a high level guideline about the volume of the data that we need to have?
That's definitely a tricky one, I would say, because it's the database on interaction? Is it the database on content, on perhaps products? But yeah, I would say the more, the better in terms of like more of a time frame. So I would like to gather more time, but let's say that you have 10, 20, 30 products, like I'm going to very small things, all of that will already be taken into consideration based on the behaviors of the person. So there will be two pillars. One pillar will be all the actions that we have from one side, and the other pillar will be the data of your content or products. And all that together will take a decision. So the more decisions that we take, the clever, like any other machine learning, the clever the product will be getting. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know, Joaquin, if you want to add more.
Yes, well, from your comment, I would say that based on our experience, one of the most important part of projects is try to identify all different touch points, because many times we see that there are many interactions that they are not considering before this project, and there are many. We have some best practice in the pharma industry in order to trying to collect more data. So as the basis is what Ileana said before, the more the better, and try to digitize all these different digital interaction is very important for this kind of tools, of platforms.
Very good, thank you. On that, I hope that answered the questions. I'll follow up with more questions related to this topic in a bit. We have a few. So another question here, maybe a couple of questions related to each other, so I'm going to pose them together. One of them is that the question is, can Interaction Studio push input through the Viva suggestions?
well, not this is one of the examples of the use cases. Cannot directly, but as part of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you have the possibility to send all this data to the Viva timeline or to the Viva suggestion. So this is part of the customization that we made for some pharma companies.
Okay, very good. And I guess perhaps a related kind of question to the same kind of implementation is that can the meeting notes input from Viva users be used in the recommendation engine? On that, it's practically these two questions are related to the interaction between Viva and Interaction Studio. And then again, to repeat the question is, can the meeting notes, from the Viva users be used in some way directly or indirectly into the recommendation engine, which proposes the AI engine that proposes the next best actions and other recommendations?
If you are speaking about the Viva Notes, then you are speaking about a non-structured text. So usually the way to work in this environment should be to use a text-to-speech algorithm from machine learning in order to understand which are the keywords, the most important phrases. And from these keywords, this is where Interaction Studio can create a receipt. In the video, it was very quick, the explanation, but the receipts in Interaction Studio are one of the most powerful elements that I see in the whole Marketing Cloud environment, because this is where you get some algorithms and you create some recommendations for your customers. So this is more or less for me would be the guideline. So from the notes, you will need some kind of algorithm in order to create or to extract some keyword or some useful information, and then inject this data into Interaction Studio.
Okay, very good, thank you. And there's another actually good question, Ileana, that's perhaps related to the comment that you made that it was a tricky question, but there's a good follow-up question to that as well. Is there a known best strategy to manage the content effectiveness to educate the next best action engine that combines the offline world, like face-to-face visits, events, with the online platforms? So there's more the question about, perhaps there's two questions in one. How effectively we can manage combining all the offline data that we're collecting with the online platforms, and by offline data from face-to-face, as you know, I'll interject this, that we know still the sales in the pharma world mostly happens through the real-time interactions somehow. On that, and a follow-up to that, which I'll pose again, is that if there's a good way of doing it, what's the most effective way of doing that, or the best strategy? If you can comment about those, and then afterwards you can pass also to Joaquin.
Yeah, there's like 5 questions in one.
Yeah, sorry, but that's how it was posed, and I tried to break it for you.
No. I will take a bit of what Joaquin was saying as well. So he was going to something very technical. If we think on the offline world, I always try to think on use cases. Like, let's not just do on technicalities, but what do we want to bring? So if we think on the person that is selling, then let's think what is important on those nodes that a machine should note to take it into consideration. So on that, we'll summarize. We do attributes. Like if you do a machine learning, that would be great. But if there's something that we think is relevant that the person wants to include or exclude or do something, we can then send that data. Once we have the data, we were talking about next best offer or action. And again, here, I think we have to think in 2 things. One is like content or product recommendation. And that is what Joaquin was saying, that we use recipes. And that is an algorithm that we could say things that normally are, let's say, if it's content read together or the latest trend, like we can really adapt that algorithm with things that we want to include or things that we want to exclude, or even to boost. Like if a salesperson visits a customer, I want to boost anything that was related on that conversation. And then we're bringing the offline world. Like maybe they present 10 products and we want to boost that conversation based on what we already know. So that will be more on the product content related. And then if we think on next best offer or action, it goes with goals. So we will say we want to do this conversion, or we want to achieve this goal. And based on that, the machine, because a machine learning algorithm, then we don't do much. It's just learn with what's happening on the site. Then it'll decide what is the best next offer or action. And again, data will be online and offline. It will be the data that is within Interaction Studio. I don't know if that answered the question. It was like 5, so I'll try to do a flow on how it would work.
Thank you very much. I'll follow up with the attendee about that question. Now let me interject actually my own question here. We talked about, or you commented about, the 30 millisecond latency here to call it kind of real time. Here is the access to the Viva, let's say, platform database also that 30 milliseconds, or we are talking about different latencies?
Normally, and here, Joaquin, I will need a bit of your help because you are the expert more on the integration side, but I would say probably will add some time. I don't expect it to add too much time because we have APIs and ETL that goes like every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes. Like, it will depend on the integration and the urgency that the customer has, is what I would say. But Joaquin, please, all over to you.
Yes, of course. The integration with the Viva is built using the existing marketing cloud, the Salesforce Connect. And I cannot remember the latency, but anyway, it's really very low. And you also need to understand that the kind of interactions that you have in Viva, usually you don't need real time. Where you need real time is in the part of Interaction Studio and your website. You know, this is the most important part. So I cannot remember in this moment how often does Marketing Cloud connects with Viva. I think it's a matter of minutes or 2 minutes, something like that. But this, I don't see that this is a bottleneck, because if you have in Viva your accounts, your cycle plan, whatever you have, really is not necessary to have in real time.
Thank you. Actually, that was very good, informative responses. There's another question on this about Interaction Studio and websites. On this, and the question is about the best use scenario. Is that how is Interaction Studio best used for sites that they don't offer products, but rather knowledge and research? I think perhaps, again, this is a two-tier question. Does the Interaction Studio have to be used always with product website, or that's the best use case of that?
I love that question.
No, absolutely not. There are areas of knowledge, and there are e-learning areas, or some very interesting parties where you describe the barriers or the prescription, for example, for a product. So there are some key areas that you need to consider, but not only in this way.
And then is there a kind of similar to the use cases that we covered, are there recommendations or best strategies to use them on knowledge sharing or research websites as well?
Yeah, if I can take that one, Joaquin, from you.
Sure.
Like, we just have to think when we go to those kind of sites. And the value of this, I would say, would be two. The first value is the value for the company. When I'm, as a user, I'm navigating around. So because I'm navigating around, you know what I'm interested of. You know what article or what, that's something that is not a product that took so long, or the length that I stay in one versus the other. So you already know me as a person, what I'm of interest, and then all the people that are going there. So you know what's really calling attention, what is driving to your site, what is not only one click. So that will be more on the knowledge. And I think in this time of era, we really need to understand our consumers, either direct or indirect, because that's then we're going to be doing developing our products or services. And then if we want to do recommendation on that same content, we will be able to do that as well based on only the content. Like, we want to keep the people in our site. So we want to make sure we extend that relationship. And I normally go to a customer, like, typical average time spent in a site, 3 minutes. And then the person might not even come back. So we need to make the best use of those 3 minutes. How do we do it? And it's showing relevant information. It could be a product, it could be the information of a product, or it could be even an event. So it really, it goes beyond the limits, and we will need to sit down and understand your key drivers of the business, and then we'll work together to see where to start and how to think about it, how this knowledge and interaction can help you.
Very good. Thank you, Ileana. So we have actually many more questions. So I'm going to try to go quickly through them as well. Another question is, can Interaction Studio help the user map activity from CMS to accounts and CRM?
Well, we saw part of the screens from Interaction Studio, which are the user affinities. I think this is a really very powerful tool because it can help understand which are the different affinities for this user. These affinities are built based on data from your CRM, also the engagement interaction and different sources. So absolutely, yes, is my response.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So another question, again, on the technical implementation. I'm going to read it as is, so I hope I'm doing justice to the question. It says, for the dynamic content personalization and content recommendation, how do you solve, or how do we solve that from a MLR content approval point of view?
Well, this is about the approval process specific to the in pharma companies. Usually the way to go at the end, you need to approve different variations from the same content. So you have a number of different recommendation variations, sorry, on this content. Probably your legal department need to check every one of these different variations. I'm trying to understand. I don't know if I'm answering correctly to this question. I'm trying to get the idea behind, but I assume that this is all the different variations. How do you approve internally in your company?
I would say the content that we receive would have to be approved already, right, Joaquin?
Yes, absolutely. In Viva, you have Viva Vault. Well, probably it's the issue. Okay, I'm understanding now a little bit more. In the case of approved emails, the content is coming from Viva Vault. In the case of this dynamic content, part is coming from Viva Vault, which is approved through the standard processes from a pharma company, and part of them is not because it's coming from Interaction Studio. But the way it's done, this approval process is going out through all the different variation that is coming from Viva Vault and also from Interaction Studio.
Okay, very good, very good. So, you know, let me see if we have time perhaps for, we got 1 more minute left from our meeting, from our webinar time frame today. There's 1 more question, actually. Maybe we can squeeze this one in. In terms of the implementation, where and how to prioritize, what to prioritize when for the implementation of Interaction Studio. I think the question is more about the database implementation. Ileana, maybe you can comment about this.
Yeah, I feel bad because I'm still thinking, well, use case. So where do we want to start? But I would say web app, like that inbound channel that we have when we receive information from our end users that we don't control otherwise. So that is something that we want to attack. And then, of course, it will be then from that, I will define a roadmap on the key milestone that will make really a hit on the business drivers. It's what I would say, because we can do many things and we just need to define where to start showing results so we can keep investing in time and resources.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to make sure that we are limiting ourselves to the 45 minutes that we had defined. I want again to thank all of our audience that attended around the world. I'm sure you'll have more questions. Please feel free to send it to us. You'll soon will get the link in to the recorded webinar as well, and all the contact information as well. So please free to contact any of us. You will have all of our contact information. Well, also big thanks to our panelists and the speakers today. Sara, Eliana, and Joaquin, thanks so much for joining. That was a great conversation and great dialogue. I'd like to again thank everybody, and then looking forward to seeing everyone in our next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
For the invitation, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.